Tonight, I thought I'd try something a little bit different. I am going to be streaming a bunch of NES games tonight. Um, but here's the thing: this is not going to be just blindly playing through an alphabetical list. This is not going to be me showcasing like my all-time favorite NES games or agreed upon classics. This is going to be, at least as best as I'm able to work it out, Um, me sitting down and playing only and in order the games that I owned on the NES when I was an actual child. Because here's the thing. Um, well, first of all, like that UFO 50 thing came out, which I have not acquired yet, but it did remind me of the Game Center CX games or Retro Game Challenge for the one that was actually released on the DS here, which are really excellent little nostalgia trips of here are a collection of fake NES games, basically. Well, the sequel was also like here's NES and Sega Master System game, here's a Game Boy game, here's one NES game, etc. But presented in a way of just here, you're a child in this other child's room. Uh, he gets the games he's gonna get. They get added to the shelf. He has some magazine subscriptions. You can talk to him. So you have some playground rumors to go off. You have some like random game hints from magazines, and then you have this small growing collection of games. And it's like, yeah, that's really what the experience was back in the day. Like I played most of the notable NES games when they were relatively new, not because I owned them, but because I knew someone who had them and went over to their house after school, or I rented them. But there were kind of in those days no real. Well, there was Nintendo after a while, but for the most part, early on, there was no real way to tell, like, hey, here's a game that's really cool that everybody's talking about. It was just like, here is a game that is on the shelf when your parents are like getting you birthday presents or whatever. The art on the box struck their eye, so now this is a game you own, whether it's a classic or a complete pile of garbage or just really weird. And like I don't think that experience is really like shared enough. So I'm just going to go through like yeah, here's the games that I personally ended up actually owning copies of as opposed to renting or playing somewhere else. Um, and we are of course going to dive into this where I leave my files with the one game that basically everyone owned. Or the two games everyone owned, really. And this should be popping up, but also let me double check that this is in fact going to recognize this controller. Of course not. Let's see. What if I do this? No? What if I do this? Nope. Also, okay. Well, if you're not going to recognize my fancy little 8-bit dough where I can actually like properly play, let's see. How do I have this one set up? It looks like we are doing WASD, comma, and period. Okay, I can live with that. So, yep. Let's get into the old classic. Let's get this more centered on my screen. And, you know, the other part of this, since I'm just doing the total nostalgia trip, is I'm going to try to share some trivia about the, well, not even trivia, some personal anecdotes about these as I play them. So obviously, you know, like everybody who's played Super Mario Brothers. Oh, this is annoying. This is weird in the keyboard. This is really weird in the keyboard. I think I first actually had a chance to play this in an arcade, oddly enough. Oh, that's a good start. But yeah, it was like, there was one of those demo kiosk things. And just like getting a mushroom for the first time, having it scroll for the first time. It wasn't the first game I ever played that had like side scrolling. That would be Moon Patrol, but like it was very rare in arcades to not just be a like single screen affair at the time still. And like the physics of it, the game design of it, the fact that like, you know, a level is this little like journey through really, wow, I am blaming my controller. Oh, there's a checkpoint in 1-1, that's right. Hey. You know, heck with it. But anyway, yeah. So I was a little like blown away in the arcade when I first saw it. Then I, of course, got an NES and you know, just played the heck out of it. And like as a very young child, because this would have been what, 1985 when this came out. I really sucked. I particularly remember getting to whatever the first level is that you would have to like actually get a running start for a jump, and just like having no idea what to do, because like, okay, B is the button to throw a fireball, and if you know, like are freaked out by monsters, you can like run away with it. But I like didn't realize that like, you know, you are not supposed to play this game slow and methodical and just walking everywhere. And I really didn't realize that, like, you know, your jump height is actually influenced by the speed that you're going at. So I was just, like, trying to do this, you know, decent jump at, like, this speed. Just walk up and jump, and, like, it was not going to happen. I was sitting there, like, freaking out about it. My mother just, like, walked by and was like, why don't you just try getting a running start? And I did. I was like, oh, that actually worked. Thank you for your just random instinctual advice. But eventually not that I'm showing it off right now, because again, like playing this on keyboard is so weird. But I got very good at this game. I was doing stuff like, let me turn the TV off, play the first like 4 levels, turn the TV on, and like pretty consistently, just no sight, no sound, just pure muscle memory, was doing fine. And would like try to force yourself to not warp and actually show off like the levels that everyone skips. So yeah, I got very, very good at this game, which later would come in handy because I feel like almost immediately after I got an NES, if not slightly before, my parents got divorced, and I wound up spending some time just like doing the weekend visit to my father thing, who for a time was just like living with his new girlfriend at the time and her children, and it was like horrible, abusive situation. The whole family just like monstrous. Especially like this woman's oldest child. So the prospect of like, okay, all the kids go out and play outside now was like, no, this is like dangerous. That's how I wind up, you know, tied up in the woods with an old length of rope while this kid like sicks his dog on me. I want to avoid that as much as possible. But the NES in general was still very new at the time. Everybody had this game. Most people were bad at it. And only ever saw like the first couple levels. So the fact that I was good at this meant that like if I was playing and doing well, everyone would be like too entranced to make me, you know, play with the horrible, horrible child who was later arrested for some things. Some things involving his younger sisters. I will leave it at that and say yes. And, like, there's no real reason to get these coins. Like, lives don't matter, coins don't matter, but, like, they're there, and Smuggler's Memory is the thing. So, yeah, it was like this little, like, Scheherazade thing of, like, okay, if I can, like, keep winning and looping the game, like, I am safe as soon as I get a game over. Like, bad things will happen. This is not the happiest childhood story, but it's a thing. So yeah, I got very good at this particular game, and it really paid off. I also got like okay at some other games at the time. Which I'll be coming back to this little anecdote actually, because that was a period of playing a few of these. And hopefully my stories don't get too grim. But yeah, some of them are a little dark. Most of them are not. Some of these other ones, yes. This is also a game where, like, I was so obsessed with this and its sequels, and spoiler alert, we're not getting to the sequels. I didn't have them. I rented those. But, you know, I would, like, you know, write fiction in, like, 3rd grade or whatever that was just, like, elaborating on the events of SMB 3, I think, was out at the time? I don't remember. You'd think that, like, you know, teachers would be like, oh, seriously? You're just, like, obsessed with video games, kid, but, like, I think we're into it. So, it worked out. It's not like I didn't have other interests, too. Although, like, I did tend to combine them in a way. Like, I remember playing outside when Mega Man 2 was a thing, and, like, okay, we gotta, like, make our own robots. Let's, like, go to Radio Shack, and let's get some electronic components, and let's get some, like, paper mache, and let's just, like, make a little sculpture of Windman with, like, a working fan in the chest. And I don't remember really getting much of anywhere with most of that, but I do still have that my cousin made this little really off-model papier-mâché Bubble Man who has a very snicker-worthy as an adult, just like giant BM across his chest, which has been decorating a shelf forever. So water physics in the original Super Mario Bros. Are weird, because you have these like random currents that'll pull you around and stuff like that, and the patterns on some of these are kind of horrible. It's like much better if you have fireballs, obviously, but like it's like, yeah, this will suck me down, I believe. Yep. And there's of course the trick if you want to make the collision slightly less awful. This is another section. Kind of like centers you too. It's weird how it's coded. But, what was I saying? Oh yeah, you can do the whole duck thing to only be 1 block tall, but still have the same swinging animations. Because you are just, like, ducking and doing the duck jump thing, but, like, jumping in completely to water. All the Mega Man games have, like, such amazing soundtracks, honestly. So I remember there's, like, a piece of trivia that people are, like, weird about, where a lot of people, like, remember this game having, like, clear blue skies and not this, like, frankly lavender that it actually is. I seem to recall there was, like, some port of this somewhere that changed that, and, like, I want to say Miyamoto was personally upset by it. How dare you? So I'm not, like, planning to, like, play through all of these, but I might with this one because it's just Super Mario Bros. It's a short game. Well, it's a short game through Warp. It's and then I just do that, of course. And that, of course. You won't play this all the way through. So just some, like, kind of added anecdotes about it. I do remember going for the whole infinite one-up thing and doing it too long, and, you know, at first it's like you get, you know, up to 9 lives, then you get up to, like, crown 0 lives, and so on, and then you start getting just, like, I don't know, random piece of water 7 lives, because, they didn't really account for, like, double-digit numbers, and it just kind of starts going through the rest of the character ROM, and just, like, you know, random sprite is the first digit of your lives. And then if you keep going, of course, you will eventually loop around, because it's just a, you know, 8-bit integer, to the maximum number of lives, and then you get one more, and then you're suddenly, like, getting a game over because you hit 0 lives because it wrapped around. Which was very confusing as a child. Not familiar with, you know, underflow errors, or overflow errors, rather. One other thing is, because I've been, like, studying a lot of hardware architecture, I happen to know that there is, like, exactly 1 screen worth of level loaded at any point off the right side of the screen in this game. And none to the left. So if you're ever curious how this is going to work, like, that's not going to bounce back. Oh no, that's okay. Oh, right, because it's slightly cropped. Never mind. Waste of my own petard of trivia. That's why sometimes shells will bounce back as long as they won't. It's just that, like, you know, 2 full screens worth of level exist at any given point. But apparently it's not exactly 1 screen to the right. It's slightly offset. The Hammer Bros are, like, honestly, to this day, one of the nastier things to just, like, deal with in a platformer. It's just, like, going so fast, you just, like, you know, don't even see them. It's like they really spam the hammers. They have kind of unpredictable movements. When you start, like, trying to kill them by jumping up under them and you miss slightly or putting holes in the floor, now it's, like, that much worse trying to deal with them. Okay, can I do it still? Nope. Okay. Yeah, just realized like halfway through that was like a little bit too far to the right. I have, a few times over the years played through every level of this game properly. I remember people doing that to just like savor it all when All-Stars came out. But like most people, I almost always just like, warp past the first. That really is just the drift here, huh? The first like 80% of the game. It's like you do 1-2, you get the warp in 1-2, you go straight to 4-1. You get the warp in 4. Your claw's a little bit sharp right now, baby. But hi. I will put my leg closer so you can use the pillow. He's just like grabbing onto me. And then that takes you to 8-1, and then it's just like, okay, just do the last roll of the game. And as an adult, you know, like, well, the game is going to like gradually increase the difficulty curve and introduce concepts. So if you play through properly, you will, slowly learn how to play it well, one small challenge at a time. But when you're a small child, it's like, oh, well, the more of the game I can skip, the easier it'll be to win. Let me go straight to the end. Oh, wow, the end is really hard. These are really interesting physics-wise, too. Like, you don't tend to see this sort of complexity with moving platforms as the pulley ones. Especially when there's, like, the actual acceleration curve when you first hop on. And then a little bit of momentum to that, too, so they'll like, keep going as you're jumping and you'll snap the wire. Whoops. Yeah, I'm playing until I get a game over, which might be any second now, because... Who plays 3-4 ever? Like... I have no memory of this place. That or I'll keep going until I... Okay, yeah, sure. I could hypothetically keep going until I hit the first maze castle. Those are always rough if you, like... don't remember what you're doing. Okay, so... if you don't have fireballs... you have to either slide under or jump over here. This is made slightly trickier by stuff like the addition of that wall there. Yeah, that's a good look at Super Mario Bros. We've all played this one. While I'm here... where is reset? Oh, there it is. Because there are, of course, 2 games in the cartridge. I don't know how it's going to work. Is it going to be mouse-based? Let's find out. And yeah, Super Mario is... it was notably harder than Mario Brothers, and then sequels were generally easier. Although Super Mario Brothers 2, going back to that, is harder than you remember, honestly. This is very slippery. So I actually have like an on-screen cursor here, which really defeats the point. Like, this is one of those games you can't really play anymore without a CRT. You might be able to catch it. I can catch it. I don't know if I am streaming this at a high enough frame rate for you. But you'll notice, as I shoot, there is this white square over the duck. It is therefore a frame. The actual light gun is a camera with a very like narrow field of view. And the idea is if you're like pointed at just the right spot, then like while you're holding the trigger, it will detect that solid white square and register it as a hit. It's something I did figure out as a child because I, did notice the white square flash and was like wondering how the technology worked. It's like, hey, will this work on any white glowing thing? And so I just would, point the gun at a lamp near me with the old incandescent bulbs. And turns out that works fine. You just shoot a light bulb, hit every shot. But yeah, this loses something when you're just clicking on ducks on the screen. Like, this is way too accurate. Which also means I'm not showing off, like, the thing about Duck Hunt. Which is, of course, that when you fail, the dog laughs at you. And some people have like a weird complex about this dog and just like getting incredibly angry at the dog for taunting you. With Duck Hunt itself, there's no timing thing because nothing but the target duck is flashing like that. Other light gun games, especially where there's like, what was it, Hogan's Alley, where you have the like criminals and hostages, there's a timing thing. Where it's like syncing up exactly when you're hitting the trigger and cycling through the various targets. So there, yeah, that trick would not work. With Duck Hunt, it absolutely does. Anyway, 'twas our first game here.